Hideout everywhere. Imagine holding a dollar bill and being able to trade it for real gold on the spot. That's how money used to work under something called the gold standard. But while it sounds stable, this system eventually helped trigger one of the worst economic crises in history. In this video, we're breaking down what the gold standard was, why it collapsed, what happened to gold prices, and how the world economy had to rebuild after it all fell apart. So, what exactly was the gold standard? It was a system where every unit of money was backed by a fixed amount of gold. You could literally take your paper money to the bank and exchange it for gold. The system started in 19th century Britain and spread worldwide because it made international trade and currency exchange more stable. Countries tied their currencies to gold to avoid inflation and keep trust in their money. Sounds pretty solid, right? But here's the catch. When economies started to grow and change, the gold supply didn't grow fast enough, and governments had no room to move. The first big crack came with World War I. Countries printed money like crazy to pay for the war, but their gold reserves couldn't keep up. The gold standard started to fall apart. After the war, some nations like the UK tried to go back to it, but it didn't work. By the late 1920s, the global economy was too shaky. Then came the Great Depression in 1929. With the gold standard in place, countries couldn't print more money or lower interest rates to help their economies. It made everything worse. One by one, countries ditched the system. And finally, in 1971, U.S. President Richard Nixon ended the dollar's link to gold. That was the final blow. The gold standard was officially dead. Once the gold standard was gone, gold was no longer locked at a fixed price. It started trading freely on the market. And the result? The price exploded. In 1971, gold was about $35 an ounce. By the end of the decade, it had skyrocketed to over $800 an ounce. Why? Because when people lose faith in paper money, especially during inflation or crisis, they turn to gold. It became a safe haven, not a currency, but a way to protect value. After the collapse, the world needed a new system. At first, we got something called the Bretton Woods system, where other currencies were tied to the US dollar and the dollar was tied to gold. But once the US dropped that gold link in '71, everything changed. We entered the age of fiat money, currency backed by government trust, not physical assets. This gave governments and central banks way more flexibility to control inflation, set interest rates, and respond to crises. But it also opened the door to risks like money printing and runaway inflation. That's why institutions like the Federal Reserve and inflation targeting became so important. They help keep people's trust in money. What's left of the gold standard today? Not much, but the ideas behind it still shape how we think about money. Gold itself? It's no longer currency, but it's still a big deal. Investors see it as insurance, something solid to hold when the world feels unstable. Next time gold prices spike, just remember, it's not just about metal. It's about trust, fear, and a history that never really left us.